Good evening. I'd like to call the City of Twinsburg regular council meeting for September 26, 2023 to order. The time is 8:10 p.m. We are at the Twinsburg Government Center Council Chambers. Shannon, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Here.
Mrs. Walker?
Present.
Mr. Bellin?
Here.
Mr. Deeds?
Here.
Mrs. Labby? Here. Mr. Fury?
Here.
Mr. Post?
Here. Thank you, Shannon. At this time, Mr. Deeds is going to lead us in the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Mr. Deeds?
Father, you guide and govern everything with order and love. Look upon the assembly of our city's leaders and fill them with the spirit of your wisdom. May they always act in accordance with you, and their decisions be for the peace and well-being of all. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Deeds. Move us along to approval of the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes of the regular council meeting on August 22nd and September 12th, 2023? And if so, is there any discussion regarding those?
Make a motion that we approve the minutes from August 22nd and September 12th, 2023 as submitted.
I'll second.
Mr. Bell made the motion, Mr. Fury seconded. Shannon, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Deeds?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby? Yes. Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes. Approval of the minutes passes 7-0. That moves us on to awards and presentations. I believe the mayor has a proclamation to present this evening. Mayor Scafidi.
Yes, sir. Who's going to come up and represent the Twinsburg Theater? Or you can all come up if you like.
Heck yeah.
I thought they were all just here for a council meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, we got to stand closer here. Well, I so they can hear. Okay, we have a proclamation tonight, and here's what it says. It says, whereas the city of Twinsburg extends congratulations to the Twinsburg Community Theater on winning the Best Musical in the 2022 Broadway World Cleveland Awards for Disney and Cameron Mackintosh's Mary Poppins. And whereas congratulations are also in order to the proclamation production team for their awards in the following categories. Best Director of a Musical, Joe Turner, Mary Poppins. Best Music Director and Orchestra Performance, Ellie Kelly, Mary Poppins. Best Scenic Design of a Play or Musical, Chris Rack, Mary Poppins. And whereas the community is grateful to the theater committee, Joe Turner, Chris Rack, Joni O'Hara, Heather Kramer, and Laura Menser for their hard work and dedication. And whereas the Twinsburg Community Theater strives to bring together our diverse community to explore, dream, think, and connect through the arts since 1996. And now therefore, I, Sam Scafidi, Mayor of the City of Twinsburg, together with the City Council, do hereby extend this congratulations and thanks to the entire cast, crew, and production team for all of you, for all they do in the theater community that has made this possible. And in witness thereof, I have hereunto subscribed my name and caused my official seal to be affixed this 26th day of September 2023. So thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor. A great honor for me to present a proclamation, and especially when it's a local group like this and doing such a great service for our community. So I'm really proud of these folks, and they work very hard. It's a small group and doing a large job. It's a big job. We met with them last week. We're talking about the future of the theater and how we're going to continue on. And you know, these folks have a lot of work to do, and I think somewhere along the line they'd like to get a little more help as well. So anybody that wants to volunteer, I'm sure they're open to that, and they'd be welcome you with open arms. If you want to say anything.
I just want to say a couple words. Yeah. So thank you, Mayor and Council and Parks and Recs. You know, one of the things that we love about community theater is that it truly takes a community. So 100% of the kids that are in the show are from Twinsburg. At least 75% of the cast and crew are from Twinsburg. And we even have some people outside the community that, to me, are now members of Twinsburg as well. So I want to thank them all. I want to thank the schools for allowing us to use their wonderful facility. Do appreciate that. Want to thank the other committee members who weren't able to attend tonight for all their hard work. The thing about being on this committee is, we're doers, right? So it's not only just, dictating something that needs to be done, we actually go out there and do it, whether it's Chris doing the sets or Joni doing the stage managing. And a couple other things is, while we're at rehearsals and while we're, at productions, we have family and friends taking care of things at home, right, picking up the slack, so I want to thank them. And then my partners in crime here. We could not have done this show without you guys, so I want to thank you guys as well. So again, appreciate it.
Nice job.
Thank you. All right. Congratulations again. Really enjoy the theater. It's quite an asset to the community. Moving along, audience participation. Shannon, do we have anyone this evening?
We do. First, we have Steve Hummel.
All right. Good evening, sir.
Council, Mayor, Mr. Law Director. My name's Steve Hummel, 2500 Old Mill Road. I come tonight to speak a little bit towards the proposed apartment senior living development that they're going to be putting in the township. Okay, and the reason I come here tonight to talk about that is because part of the process there is to get approval from the fire department about the ability for them to provide services to that location. And I'm going to just say it, I feel it's bad policy to have a letter written in the way it was written, given the fact that they're proposing 174 apartment units back there in an area that'll basically have a cul-de-sac that's well over a half a mile long. Now, that's a safety issue. And I applaud the fellows that do the work for us to keep us safe. But there's a reason that the county only allows for a 1,200-foot cul-de-sac. Because basically what we have there is one way in and out of that place right now. And that's all that we're going to give as far as the residents on Old Mill, no matter who ends up with that property, no matter if it's annexed to the city or whatever happens with it. Because, we're, not to go back to Scannell, but we're going back and forth. We're looking at warehousing. We're going to actually be looking at the truck docks the way it's proposed, to the fact that there's going to be 200 apartments or 174 now behind us. So there's no way that if we haven't caved in yet to give another point of access, that ain't happening. And I applaud the people on Old Mill that haven't sold out yet to give that point of access. But that being said, the county only allows for 1,200-foot way in and out with a publicly dedicated road, which they're trying to bypass because they're going for private roads. Makes it tough for everybody, Sheriff's Department, everybody's going to have a difficulty there in that area. So, to me, I look at it like it's commercial. I agree that they talk about sprinkler systems in there, and that is helpful. But that's basically dedicated to commercially zoned type of buildings. And that's exactly what this is. You can call it what it wants. It's not multifamilies that rent. I could see a developer buying a few things in a development that's there, and renting them. When you buy a space and do all rentals, that's a commercially zoned area. And it was spoken to, on that. But I guess what I'm saying is I feel in a way, and we don't know where it's going to end up, but the proposals for 174 units with a road that's, like I said, well over a half mile long. When you drive down Old Mill Road from 91 and you get to McGee Lane, everybody knows McGee Lane, it's basically almost stretching that whole length, one way in and out. And then, you have an accident up front there, you can't even get equipment in on a private road. So, and I'm worried about my conservation easement. If a fire lets loose with all the way the climate's changing now and I got dry tinder woods in the back, I don't want my conservation easement catching on fire because the crews can't get in there. There's no other way in and out. So there's just some of the things I want to address, right now. I mean, we're neighbors. And we do use your services, and we pay for those services, I believe. But if those services can't be provided, I know EMS has, calls where they can't get to. There's overlap there. I've read articles about EMS services in different parts of the county where there's real problems. And in some of it's directed towards senior living. So we all want to be safe and sound in our homes. And I'm just going to let it go at that, and I appreciate your work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Next, we have Laura Leonard.
Right.
I was just thinking the same thing.
Good evening. Just state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Laura Leonard. I live at 2115 Presidential Parkway, but I'm speaking on tonight on behalf of the Library Board of Trustees and the staff of the Twinsburg Public Library, just to give the community an update on what's happening with us. So I would like to take the time to thank all the residents and the city officials and the employees. The city and the employees have been really good partners with the library through the course of my career there. Most specifically this spring, they helped us with a big event, and we're very grateful. So I just want to give you some information about the library. We are a school district library, which means we serve the cities of Reminderville, Twinsburg, and the Twinsburg Township, just like the school district does. But we are not governed by the school board, but they are taxing our authority should we need to go out for a levy. They also approve newly nominated trustees of our library board. And thankfully for Sam, we're not a department of the city either, although some cities do have city libraries. Nor are we a part of the Akron-Summit County Library System. We are an independent library. We do belong to the CleveNet Consortium, which gives everyone access to the materials of 46 other libraries in addition to our own. We are funded in part by 2 1-mil continuing levies and by a percentage of the state's general revenue fund. Those funds are sent to Summit County, and then it is divided among all the 7 libraries in our county, according to a formula. One of the factors of the formula is circulation, how many books and other items get checked out, including those ebooks you download. By checking out more and using the materials the library has purchased with your tax dollars, you help bring more state money to us to be used for staffing, materials, and building improvements. Please don't say, I don't want to take out too many. Just take out as many as you want. And if you don't read them, I won't tell anybody. We also have 2 support organizations, the Friends of the Library, who raise and donate $20,000 each year to cover the costs of the programming at the library. We also have a foundation whose funding has helped us with new parking lot lighting, carpeting, the reading garden, and part of the new bookmobile. Because of their support, more of the library's public dollars can go farther. The good news is, I'm not here asking for money, but to share with you the many services we provide. Many people are not aware that instead of purchasing ebooks and audiobooks from Amazon and other vendors, we have several databases such as Libby and Hoopla where you can borrow ebooks and audiobooks just with your library card. You can even download movies from Canopy. Just visit our webpage to access all of these resources. You can even just get an e-card to use those e-materials without ever leaving your home. You'll also have access to our databases such as encyclopedias and directory information for businesses and consumers. It's really hard to find a phone number on the internet now without paying for it, but you pay for a database where you can find that phone number. We also circulate board games, hotspots, and non-traditional items such as traffic cones, walks, ukuleles, hot air guns, and more from our library of things. In addition, we have passport and notary services. This year, we have formed partnerships with the Ohio Department of Jobs and Family Services, who visit the 3rd Wednesday of each month to help folks with health care coverage, SNAP assistant, child care services, and more. Ohio Means Jobs visits us on the 3rd Thursday of each month to help residents with job searches. Just this morning, we hosted a naturalization ceremony, and 25 residents became new citizens. We hope that these new citizens will take advantage of our English language learning classes that we offer online. You'll be glad to know we still offer the traditional services of books, newspapers, and children's story times. You can still call the reference desk to find out what the Ohio lottery numbers were, or you can ask more in-depth questions. We have volunteers who will deliver those materials to those who can't get out of the house, and our bookmobile visits daycares and senior centers. We hope to start adding apartment complexes next summer so that the children who don't have access to transportation can get a visit from us. Each household in the district should receive our quarterly newsletter with a list of programs we have for every age group. I'd like to thank you all for supporting the library, and please come visit us to see and take advantage of these and many other resources we have to offer.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Laura.
That's all we have this evening.
All right. Before we move on to council communication committee reports, if members of the theater want to make a mass exit, that's fine. If you want to stick around for the fun, that's also, you're welcome. We'd love you to join us.
See you guys.
Congratulations again.
Congrats again, guys.
Congratulations.
Want to?
Okay.
Boy, they're out of here.
I don't blame you.
I hear you, brother.
Laura stayed.
Laura stayed, she's in the back. And yeah, I'd like to tip my hat to our library. I just renewed my passports, and you guys made it painless for the second time around. So thank you very much for that. Okay, council communication and committee reports. Why don't we start off with Mr. Post this evening? Good evening.
Wow, that's different. Thank you. None of mine have met. Planning would normally have met, but we had to reschedule it. And it's going to be this Thursday in a couple days. So, other.
Microphone. Get the mic.
They can't hear you.
It's
You're back too far.
Put it to the side of the iPad.
I didn't
See?
realize I was that far away from it.
That's all right. Mark taught me how to
Thank
do
you.
that.
Just planning this Thursday. Thank you. Nothing further.
Thank you, Mr. Post, for that riveting report.
Yes, thank you.
Mrs. Labby, make sure you use your microphone, and would you like to present this evening?
Yes, I would. Thank you.
Thank you.
The ARB met September 21st and unanimously approved the following cases: 230948 U.S. Auto Force signs for 8601 Independence Parkway, 230949 color changes for a home build on 10539 Ravenna Road, 230950 sign change for Jasmine Beauty Center, 2569 East Aurora Road, and finally 230951 a home addition on 10362 Andover Drive. The next meeting is October 5th here in Chambers at 6 o'clock. I also went to a CIC meeting. It met the same evening. As always, Rebecca Ziegler, our economic director, gave a positive and an energetic review of what she's been up to for the past couple months. Something I thought people would be interested, the Blue Top has been sold to a gentleman who also owns property in the area, so that's a positive thing as far as that goes. The next meeting, October 12th at 5 p.m. From Parks and Recs, save the date October 29th for the third annual Fall Family Fest, 12 to 3 at Glen Chamberlain Park. And the Senior Center celebrated their 20-year anniversary Saturday the 16th. Congratulations to Laura and all who participated. Laura does an outstanding job all the time. Sign up for senior snowplow services will continue until November 30th. Applications at twinsburgrec.com. I attended the finance meeting tonight. It was quick but very informative. And the next Jedi meeting is Monday, October 9th at 6 o'clock. That's all I have for today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Labby. Mr. Fury, good evening.
Thank you and good evening.
Right and left.
Okay. There was a finance meeting earlier this evening. The primary purpose of the finance meeting was to get an update and report from the end product of the Capital Improvements Board. The next finance meeting will be October 24th. We also discussed having extended a different format of budgetary reviews that the finance director has asked us to do on the 14th and the 28th, and we will be happy to comply. I received from the finance department our statement of cash. Our beginning balance for 2023 was $15.8 million. Our ending balance is projected right now to be $18.6 million, and currently the unexpected balance is $38.8 million. Thank you. And this is all on our website. Capital Improvements has met every Tuesday for the last 5 weeks, and Shelley Shipley, Sharon Price, John Blust, Maureen Stauffer, and Sharon Patel did a really nice job of looking at millions of dollars of capital improvements. A capital request is something that costs more than $5,000 or lasts more than 5 years. So it's roads, trucks, and equipment. They did an outstanding job, and the Finance Committee recommended their recommendations to be incorporated into the budget, which will be in the finance meetings that we will have later this month. I also attended with the mayor the 20th anniversary of the Senior Center. That was really nice because Mr. Scafidi and I were actually there when it opened as candidates.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was in the spring, and we were elected in the fall. So
Right.
it was really neat to see that building and how far it's come and all the good, because at the time, it was somewhat controversial because we financed it, and people were outraged that we would put a bond in for that. So Mayor Prokop really did a nice job on that. She did. I would like to talk about briefly the deadline to appeal a Summit County property tax increase, which is this Saturday, 9/30/23. The Summit County Fiscal Office mailed out new home appraisals last month that may increase your property home value by up to 34%. In order to challenge, and by I mean challenge, it means to have somebody else look at the process, because they used a computer model that took like-sized homes off 2022 real estate sales and incorporated these increases. They don't always match up very well. You should look at that information that they mail to you, because if you do not schedule a meeting or call them by next Saturday, whatever they mailed to you last month will be your new property taxes. Mine, for instance, was about a 26% increase, which is significant, so I'm going to have them take a look at that. So how do you do that? You call 330-643-2710, or you go to their website at fiscaloffice.summitoh.net. And again, when I say challenge, it's to have it reviewed. And if you disagree with the reviewed appraisal value, you will then have an opportunity to go before a board and state your case with whatever data that you can come up with. But if you do not call them by next Saturday, your process is over, and your property taxes will be, or your appraised value will be what they gave you. So I think that's important for most families to be aware of, that their property taxes most likely will still be rising. Mrs. Labby already talked about senior snow plowing. The second public meeting for the code is going to be Wednesday, October 4th, between 5:30 and 7:30. This is going to be in the multipurpose room at the community center. Just be able to ask some of those questions that some of our residents had earlier about the code and the changes and the things we're looking at, and provide feedback by Mrs. Ziegler. That's all I have right now, but thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Mr. Fury. Moving along, Mr. Deeds. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. I was also at the finance meeting today, and I want to say thank you to Mrs. Conway for always having such great preparation. She always comes with, with all the numbers, and I want to thank the residents of the Capital Improvement Board for all their hard work, because I know that is a lot of hard work that they put in on our behalf, and that does not go unnoticed. There's a Board of Zoning Appeals meeting here tomorrow at Council Chambers at 6:30. Mr. Fury mentioned the zoning code update. That's Wednesday, October 4th at 5:30 at the Community Center. Next Monday, October 9th, here in Council Chambers is the next JEDI meeting for anyone that wants to attend to that. And last but not least, I want to mention, probably the biggest concern that I get from residents is traffic. We hear it often. I'll leave it at that. here at the Safety Committee meetings, here at other times. And Chief Mason, especially since you're sitting here today, I want to thank you. 2 weeks ago on Saturday, I was campaigning up and down the homes on Glenwood, and in the hour that I was there, 4 people got pulled over. And I know that's not always easy, but I was talking to one of the young police officers who told me that at each patrol time, you're now dedicating 1 car to nothing but traffic. So I think it's important that the residents of the city know that when they have concerns, you're responding. And I want to thank you for that. I know that it's not always fun to give tickets to people in your community. It's not always looked at as positive, but it's being effective, and I want to thank you for doing the hard work and putting in the hard time. Appreciate that. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Deeds. Mrs. Walker, good evening.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I did attend the finance meeting earlier today. The JEDI and the Environmental Commission, I gave a report on that at our first meeting in September, and Community Relations will be meeting in October. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Walker. Mr. Bellin.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, sir. I had the honor of attending the annual Dodge Father's Walk on Thursday, September 21st. It really was an amazing way to spend the morning with my son, and the turnout was absolutely amazing. This is my 3rd boy through that program, and I don't think I've ever seen more people there. So it was really cool. I attended this evening's Finance Committee meeting. Again, Mr. Fury mentioned we had a presentation from the Capital Improvements Board. I would just like to again thank the members of that board. That is not easy work, and I really do appreciate it. Next Finance meeting will be on Tuesday, October 24th, 6 p.m. here in Council Chambers. Next Public Works meeting will be on Tuesday, October 9th at 6 p.m. here in Council Chambers. And the next meeting of the Safety Committee will be on November 14th, 6 p.m., also here in Chambers. As mentioned, work on the zoning code update continues. The zoning code working group met on September 13th. They were preparing for the public open house, which has been mentioned is going to be on October 4th at 5:30 p.m. Also, the 4th zoning code public survey will be available in October. I will provide additional updates as they become available. To learn more about the zoning code update project, please visit togethertwinsburg.com and scroll to the featured projects section. Nothing further this evening. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Bellin. I will keep my report brief this evening. I was at this evening's Finance Committee. The big takeaway for me was actually Mrs. Conway's commitment to transparency and information as far as it relates to the residents. I know you're relatively new to the city of Twinsburg here, but I think you're a breath of fresh air, and I'm really glad to see, I think it goes to show this administration's commitment to transparency and to trying to provide the information to the residents, especially when it comes to something as important as those tax dollars. So I'm looking forward to kind of see how this new format unfolds.
Thank you.
Mr. Bellin touched on public safety and public works. Unfortunately, I was not able to attend the anniversary get-together for the Senior Center. I'm perpetually in Lodi at soccer for every Saturday until I'm 60. But Jen Bettinson and her team do a great job, and I just want to thank Jen and Laura for all of their hard work. Chief, it's interesting, Mr. Deeds, I say great minds think alike. I wanted to thank you. There's definitely an increased presence in the Ethans Green neighborhood in response to, again, resident concerns. So thank you, and Mayor, for the tasking of those resources to try and keep our folks safe. That is all I have this evening. That moves us along to the mayor's report. Mr. Scafidi.
Thank you, Mr. Barr. Good evening, everybody, and I'll be brief as well. I just really want to touch on the senior anniversary party real quick. I want to thank Jen and Laura for all that they do. They always put on a great event, and this was no less than great, this event for the seniors. As Mr. Fury already alluded to, the building has been worth its weight in gold ever since we cut that ribbon and opened that building up, and it's used very much. So thank you again for all of your hard work over there. I do have to say real quick one thing. I was challenged by the mayor of the city of Macedonia for last Friday's game. I'm going to put it out there, full transparency. So, and the challenge was if they won, I had to wear their jersey, the Knights. And then, and if we won, he had to wear our jersey. So, of course, that jersey's still sitting in my office waiting because he didn't have to wear that jersey, but I did. And anybody that's seen the picture saw that I'm not a 16 or 17-year-old kid that fits into one of those little jerseys that fits you like Spanx. Anybody know what a Spanx is? Well, I found out because I couldn't breathe. And so I put it on for a brief moment, and he snapped the picture, and he couldn't wait to show that to the world. And so let's say I took one for the team. Twinsburg, I took this for you. And so I did it, I put it out there, and now you've seen the mayor in all his glory.
If it ever happens again, Mr. Scafidi, ask for one of the numbers in the 70s. Those are the bigger guys. Their shirts are bigger than the ones.
I'd like to see that picture.
I'd like to see that picture too.
Oh, I've got a new one that we've created here. You'll love
Okay.
that. I'm proud of that one. I'm putting that one out.
Thanks, Mayor.
Anyway, so, yeah, I want to just say, Mayor of Macedonia, I thank you, Nick Molnar, for the challenge, and, we look forward to doing it again, and we may consider carrying that over to, it was suggested that we do a challenge for our soccer team. And so I know I won't be wearing that uniform. So, we'll take it from there. Anyway, real quick also, I love when I get visits. I had a visit from a young lady that's here. She's a student transfer from Kenya, and she's visiting United States. And her parent family brought her in. She wanted to meet me. She had some questions to ask for she wanted to know about the local government and how the government works. And she was a very smart, intelligent lady. She was, I believe, in 10th or 11th grade. And so she was asking me questions, and really good questions, but it came down to, she says, who's the head of the city? Who's the top of the city here? And I says, well, in our community, it's whoever's the mayor is the top of the city. And besides Shannon. Yeah. So she looked at me, and she was really questioned by that. And so her host mom here said, she didn't understand what the mayor was. And so she says, well, it's like the king. The king in your country, which they abolished that back in the 60s, I believe. So they do have a president today. She said, or like the president. And at that point, she sat up and she went, oh, And at that point, for a minute, I sat up too. I heard the Lion King song in the background. I just can't.
Still wearing the Ordonia jersey?
He took that with him. Okay. But yeah, so it was a great visit, and I really enjoyed that. It was a fun day. So real quick, to move on, I just want to talk to just for a minute about our charter amendments that are going to be on the ballot on November 7th. There's been a lot of work put into this. Shannon, Mark, Matt, and I have met frequently to discuss how we're going to get the message out to all the residents, because it seems like every time that we have a charter amendment on there, residents say we didn't understand it. They read the language and nobody knows what it really means or what they're referring to, and should they vote yes or should they vote no. Well, of course, we can't tell them how to vote. That's not for us to do. But what we did do, and I'm so happy we did this, we've created a booklet. And this is the booklet, okay, that's going to be put out. It's going to be put out around the city as much as we can. I'm going to, I'll ask her while she's here, I'm going to ask Laura if she would be gracious enough to put these on her counter. We're going to put them in the fitness center. We're going to put them in the senior center. We're going to put them here at City Hall. We're going to put them anywhere that somebody will let us, so they can grab one of these booklets. And it really goes into detail. A lot of work was put into this, I got to tell you. But, they've got the ballot languages on there, and then the translation of what it means in English to you and I. When you look at that ballot language and you don't know what what it's asking you, well, this is going to simplify it. Along with that, we had a couple of the charter review members come in, and we created videos. And two of the members came in, and they explained each and all 7 of the charter amendments that are going to be on the ballot. So, and I saw a preview of them today, and they're really great videos. I think the 2 folks that came in, Courtney and Dwayne, they did a really good job. Again, they were on the committee. They were part of the decision-making of what they recommended to council and what's going on the ballot. So and all this stuff is going to be released next week. So you'll start seeing these around next week. You'll start seeing the videos on Together Twinsburg and whatever media site. I think, where else are we putting this? Anywhere?
Social media.
Pardon me?
Social media.
And social media, yeah, and Facebook. So the videos will be running. So, we hope that everybody takes a look at one of these videos or grabs a book and reads up on what the issues really are, so they understand them when they go to the polls. They can vote intelligently. So, again, there's no direction, not telling anybody how to vote or what to vote on. It's just simply giving them the language in English rather than in Board of Election language. I think that's it. That's all I have. I'm done. Thank you. Thanks for your
Mayor.
time.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for being a good sport. I jest. But I do want to reiterate, excellent job with the booklets. And again, just great job getting the information out to the folks.
Doing the best we can. Right.
But I think that it is a direct response to things that this legislative body has heard repeatedly over the years. And so, again, I applaud the efforts of you department heads, and your coworkers on trying to disseminate as much information in an easily digestible format. So thank you for that. Do we have any department heads this evening?
We do. Jen. We have Jennifer here tonight.
Right.
And we also have our newest member, and you'll get to meet her now.
Terrific. Good evening, Mrs. Bettinson.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing us to speak tonight. So, you mentioned our great team. We now have a new addition to our team. This is Michelle Harmel. She is our new Assistant Parks and Recreation Director. So, in the interest of brevity, I'm going to give her the floor. All right? So, welcome, Michelle.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me tonight. I want to say thank you to our wonderful mayor, Parks and Recreation Director, and Human Resources Department for giving me the opportunity to work for the city of Twinsburg. I started my Parks and Recreation career at Kent State University by getting a degree in recreation management. I worked for the city of Streetsboro for 9 years as the director before moving to Pennsylvania and accepting a job with Peters Township. I don't know how familiar you guys are with Pennsylvania, but it's a town just about 17 miles south of Pittsburgh. I was there for the last 17 years as Parks and Recreation Director, and recently wanted to move back home. I was originally from Stowe and had the need to come back to be near family. So I saw this opportunity and I applied, and here I am. I'm happy to be here, and everybody has been so wonderful and welcoming so far, and I look forward to growing with the city. So thanks.
Wonderful.
Welcome.
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 Thank you so much. Yes. Mayor, anyone else this evening?
No, that's it. Tammy, did you want to say anything?
Mrs. Conway, did you have a?
I have a couple things tonight.
Okay.
The floor is yours.
We did receive notice from the Auditor of State that our audit is completed, accepted, and there are no material issues. So even though we were done late this year, they got our response very quickly. Rita has notified us that 3,242 non-filer letters went out this week. I'm going to ask Mark tomorrow to post some information on the website. Anyone who receives a non-filing notice, you can either file your e-return on their website, or we will post information about how to send the hard copies in. However, if you do not respond to the non-filer notice, you will be moved to the subpoena program. That subpoena program works through Stowe Court. You want to avoid that as much as you can, so we will get that information posted tomorrow. And I know we've said a lot about the Capital Improvement Board. I would also like to thank those members. This is a very unique opportunity that Twinsburg provides its residents, which other cities, I've worked for Cuyahoga County, other municipalities and areas do not have citizen involvement like the city of Twinsburg does. Very few places will you ever see residents or anyone other than your finance department involved in your budget process. So to enlist resident members to have a voice and a say-so in the capital projects that the city has and the future projects that the city purchases is a really unique experience. And I actually learned a lot from those members, being my first year on the committee, as to the questions that they ask and like a different resident perspective as to what they see as important for the city. So I would like to thank them again, and Sharon and Maureen. It was their last year, so there will be 2 new members next year. And that's it for today.
Thank you, Mrs.
Thank you. That's it.
All right, Mayor, thank you. Before we move into legislation this evening, due to a couple of last-minute agenda items, I would like to make a motion to enter into an executive session to discuss matters pursuant to the Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22G, subsection 4, negotiations. This is to prepare for, conduct, and review negotiations and bargaining sessions with public employees concerning compensation in terms of their employment. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Fury seconds. Is there any discussion? Shannon, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mr. Deeds?
Yes.
All right, the
Mr. Barr.
motion passes 7-0. We'll move into executive session.
Bar, any objection to having the police chief join us?
None, sir.
Okay,
And
thank you. Thank you.
reconvene shortly and report on executive. At this time, I'd like to reconvene the council meeting at 9:23 p.m. We discussed negotiations during the executive session as it pertains to some legislation further on this evening. So we're going to begin legislation with Ordinance 88, 2023.
An ordinance accepting the amount and rate as determined by the Summit County Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county fiscal officer and declaring an emergency.
At this time, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules and place Ordinance 88, 2023 on its third and final reading. May I have a second?
Second.
Yield.
And Mrs. Walker seconds. Shannon, please call the roll on the emergency.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mr. Deeds?
Yes.
Suspension of the 3 reading rule passes 7-0. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to adopt Ordinance 88, 2023 as an emergency. May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Bellin seconds. Any further discussion on 88, 2023? Hearing none, Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mr. Deeds?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Ordinance 88, 2023 passes as an emergency 7-0. Moving along to Ordinance 89, 2023.
An ordinance authorizing the advancement of local taxes from the Summit County Fiscal Officer for the tax year 2023 payable in 2024 in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code, Section 321.34, and declaring an emergency.
At this time, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules and place Ordinance 89, 2023 on its third and final reading. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Yield.
Mr. Fury seconds. Any discussion on the emergency? Hearing none, Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Deeds?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Suspension of 3 reading rule passes 7-0. Now I'd like to make a motion to adopt Ordinance 89, 2023 as an emergency. May I have a second?
Second. Yield.
Mrs. Walker seconds. Any further discussion on 89, 2023? Discussion is closed. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Deeds?
Yes.
All right, Ordinance 89, 2023 passes as an emergency 7-0. Moving along to Ordinance 92, 2023.
An ordinance amending the current year appropriations for the general revenue account as established in Ordinance 28, 2023, the appropriation ordinance for the City of Twinsburg for the year 2023 to reflect grant funding received for the bank stabilization and sanitary repair project and declaring an emergency.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Ordinance 92, 2023. May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Bellin seconds. Any further discussion?
Do you need to declare an emergency on that one?
Is the second reading of this?
That's the third and final.
We're okay. Sorry.
Sorry.
Okay, do I need to make a motion, though, to pass it? Oh,
You made.
Put it on an emergency.
Yeah, it's on there,
You
you're
got to suspend rules, but third, final reading.
all right. So before we make a motion to adopt, I need to make a motion to adopt to,
With the emergency.
Suspend the
Yep.
rules.
Yes, you do.
which I did not.
Okay.
All right, so
It's already in the
it's in the
legislation,
legislation, we don't need to do that.
and you've read it 3 times. So if you get the requisite vote total.
So we don't
tonight,
need to
it will
suspend
be-
any rules?
No, because
Roger
you're,
that.
the suspension with the legislation is only on the first or second.
Just to skip those 2 readings.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Thought if you passed it on emergency, though, you still had to make the motion because you're putting it in effect immediately.
Well, it's already it's already in the legislation.
We've read it 3 times.
Yeah, it's been written as an emergency piece of legislation. We can talk later.
All right, so there's currently a motion on the floor to adopt ordinance 92, 2023 that Mr. Bellin seconded. Any further discussion on 92, 2023? All right, the discussion is closed. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Deeds?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Ordinance 92, 2023 passes 7-0. That moves us along to ordinance 95, 2023.
An ordinance amending the composition of the Special Review Committee known as the Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 95, 2023. May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Bellin seconds. Any discussion on 95, 2023?
Yes.
Mr. Deeds.
So pursuant to the letter that we received from the JEDI members earlier today, I would like to make a motion to postpone this vote until the next meeting.
Okay, Mr. Deeds made a motion. Is there a second on Mr. Deeds' motion to postpone? All right, I'm going to ask one more time. Is there a second on Mr. Deeds' motion to postpone? All right, so hearing none, Mr. Deeds, the motion would fail based on...
Didn't get a second. No second.
A second on the motion. That's correct. Is there any additional discussion?
I feel like that someone should have been here tonight if they made such a, they went through the efforts of putting the letter out, then why didn't anyone show up last week, or 2 weeks ago, or tonight? That's the way I feel.
Thank you for sharing, Mrs. Levy. Mr. Fury, you had something you wanted to add?
Ordinance 95, 2023 simply makes this board equal to all the other boards in the city. No other board in the city has 3 council people or requires staff members from the administration to attend. We just don't do it. Now, if there is a reason for people to attend that meeting, people will be available. But this simply puts this committee, which is only 3 years old, back in line with the other committees similar to this, excluding the ARB, the BZA, and the Planning Commission, which are charter commissions. This committee was created by council and can be amended by council. We're going to have the JEDI Commission, or might even put more members on it, because for the last year, I've been hearing from the Sikh community, that they would like representation on this as well. We've got a huge Sikh. If you go over by Mr. Bellin's neighborhood, significant Sikh population over there. At the end of the day, this simply makes this board equal to the other non-judiciary boards that we have in the city. Thank you.
Any other discussion on 95? Discussion is closed. Shannon, would you call the roll on 95, 2023?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Deeds?
No.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Ordinance 95, 2023 passes 6-1. That moves us along to Resolution 97, 2023.
A resolution acknowledging council's receipt and review of the monthly financial statements submitted by the Finance Department for April, May, and June 2023.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 97, 2023. May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Bellin seconds. Any further discussion on 97, 2023? Discussion is closed. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Deeds?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Resolution 97, 2023 passes 7-0. Moving along to Ordinance 98, 2023.
An ordinance amending the current year appropriations for the general revenue account as established in Ordinance 28, 2023, the appropriation ordinance for the City of Twinsburg for the year 2023 to reflect the amount needed for a community center roof repair and declaring an emergency.
All right, at this time, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules and place Ordinance 98, 2023 on its third and final reading. May I have a second?
Second. Yield.
Mr. Deeds seconds. Any discussion on the suspension of the 3 reading rule? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Deeds?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
All right, suspension of the 3 reading rule passes 7-0. Now I'd like to make a motion to adopt Ordinance 98, 2023 as an emergency. May I have a second?
Second.
All right, Mrs. Walker seconds. Any additional discussion on ordinance 98, 2023? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mr. Deeds?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Ordinance 98, 2023 passes as an emergency 7-0. Moving along to ordinance 99, 2023.
An ordinance authorizing the city to both participate in the Omnia Partners Cooperative Purchasing Program and to enter into an agreement pursuant to the same for the Glenn Chamberlain Playground Project and declaring an emergency.
At this time, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules and place ordinance 99, 2023 on its third and final reading. May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Deeds seconds. Any discussion on the emergency? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Deeds?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Suspension of the three reading rule passes 7-0. Now I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 99, 2023 as an emergency. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Yield.
I'll yield. Pick one.
Mrs. Labby seconds. Any additional discussion on 99, 2023? Hearing none. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Deeds?
Yes.
All right, ordinance 99, 2023 passes as an emergency 7-0. Moving along to ordinance 100, 2023.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with the Ohio Patrolmen's Benevolent Association Patrol Officers Unit and declaring an emergency.
At this time, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules and place ordinance 100, 2023 on its third and final reading. May I have a second?
A second.
Mr. Fury seconds. Any discussion on the emergency? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Deeds?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
All right, suspension of the three reading rule passes 7-0. Now I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 100, 2023 as an emergency. May I have a second?
I will second.
Mrs. Labby seconds. Is there any further discussion regarding ordinance 100, 2023?
You go.
Mr. Vazana, do you have anything you want to add at this time?
I do. With council's permission, I would like to hit, as I've done in the past, kind of the highlights of the agreements, but do both dispatch and patrol here in one shot.
Any objections?
No.
Mr. Vazana, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you. So we'll start with the dispatch contract. I will hit what, like I said, what I would say the highlights are. So from the wage standpoint, and this is actually going to be the same for the patrol contract, the parties have done away now, or proposed to do away with the two-tiered wage schedule, which I'm sure you are familiar with. In the agreements that are presented to you, all of the members will be moved up to the higher tier. And then in years 2 and 3, we'll see a 2.5 and a 3.5 wage rate adjustment within those tiers. I will note that if you were to directly compare the dispatch with the patrol contract, you will see something that's a little bit different. In year 2 of the contract for dispatch, which is going to be the 2024 year, their duty hours are going to shift to a 36, 48-hour work week. So because of that, the wage table rates were reduced to accommodate the extra hours that will be worked under overtime, so it would be a wash. It would be a net zero. But again, dispatch and patrol will both be holding to a 2.5, 3.5 rate for years 2 and 3 of the contract. But you will see the rates kind of, they become a little bit different. Now, both units are also going to receive one-time ARPA retention bonuses that I think are equivalent to about 10% of their wages. Both units have removed the afternoon shift diff pay, which was an add-on per hour. Shift differential now will be paid only for the overnight shifts. Also, there's been some modifications to the insurance opt-out pay for individuals within both of those units, whereas currently the majority of the city is paid pursuant to Chapter 147 of the codified ordinances with approximately $200 and some if you are opting out of the insurance plan. The dispatch and patrol units were, when we entered into this season of negotiations, we were getting 30% of the COBRA rate, which was north of $800 per month for those individuals. The dispatch unit, we're striking that altogether from the contract, and within the patrol unit, there's a step down to remove that provision. So it's 25%, as opposed to 30% year 2 and then 20% in the third year. And then I'd say finally, from a notable standpoint, across our units, there's been discussion of ways that we can incorporate performance and annual payouts. The dispatch unit and the contract that would be authorized or consistent with the conciliation award would be a $750 annual payment for dispatchers who hold the emergency medical dispatch certification along with the associated training or training in the field. And then for patrol, the parties have agreed to a $1,500 enhanced training bonus, whereby if members of the patrol unit perform certain annual training, then they will receive that $1,500 bonus. Before I finish, and obviously available at all times to answer any questions, I will note with patrol we have an exciting provision that was negotiated in there, which is some language that would allow lateral higher entry officers within our patrol unit, and the parties were able to come to some terms that I believe that both sides will be pleased with. I guess we can only speak from the administration side, but it's always important to have lots of hiring tools, as we've talked about before, within the safety services. And our patrol unit took the step with the city administration to put language in there that allows that. And for that, I think our team was very appreciative. But at that, I would like to thank the mayor, Tammy, Christina, our outside counsel, Max, Chief Mason, and the countless other individuals that went along for the ride for many months together to really work collaboratively to keep preparing for our conversations and the different rounds that we went with both units. And I also, at least on behalf of the team and the administration, want to thank our patrol officers and our dispatchers who do very, very, very difficult jobs in an excellent way. And for that, I want to extend my appreciation, because the opportunities to go through these items with them, very important that we reward individuals in those units that are performing such an all-important service. At that, happy to answer any questions. I will stop.
Thank you, Mr. Vazana. Council.
Under post.
Talk all night, I can know where to go.
Or Mr. Vazana, members of council?
I'm good.
Okay, so with that, there's hearing no further discussion. Shannon, would you call the roll on the motion on the floor, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mr. Deeds?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Ordinance 100 in 2023 passes as an emergency 7-0. Moving along to ordinance 101, 2023.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with the Ohio Patrolmen's Benevolent Association Dispatch Unit and declaring an emergency.
All right, at this time, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules and place ordinance 101, 2023 on its third and final reading. May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Deeds seconds. Any discussion on the emergency? Shannon, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Deeds?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Suspension of the three reading rule passes 7-0. Now I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 101, 2023 as an emergency. May I have a second?
Second.
Mrs. Walker seconds. Any additional discussion that wasn't covered with Mr. Vazana or any members of council? Any discussion on 101, 2023? All right, hearing none. Shannon, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mr. Deeds?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
And it's ordinance 101, 2023 passes as an emergency 7-0. Congratulations to both of these bargaining units and the administration. Moving along to unfinished new business and miscellaneous. I do have an item I'd like to bring up before we go around the horn here. Lieutenant Chris Form and Assistant Chief Basso presented at the caucus this evening about the need for us to get in line and sort of expedite the purchase of a new fire truck. I would encourage any residents that have any questions about what I'm proposing here to watch the caucus meeting. Mr. Patasko, make sure that it is available. as well as to reach out to any members of council if any of this is confusing. I know this is a little out of turn for us. Given the time-sensitive nature of this, at this time I'd like to make a motion to authorize the law director to amend Ordinance 95, 2022, in an amount not to exceed $2.3 million to facilitate the purchase of a new fire truck. May I have a second?
A second.
Yield.
Mr. Post seconds. Is there any discussion on the motion? Shannon, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yes.
Mr. Deeds?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes 7-0. I'd like to thank the members of council. Insofar as it concerns the motion that was just recently passed, I'd like to just poll council in a worst-case scenario if we were to have an emergency meeting on this subject. Do people have availability tomorrow evening or Thursday evening of this week? This is sort of a time-sensitive nature.
Yes.
Yes.
There's a Board of Zoning Appeals meeting tomorrow at 6:30, I think.
But we could,
This would be a 20-minute meeting.
we can work, we can work something in around that.
I have Peter Gabriel tomorrow night.
We only need 5.
All right, so for the most part, I guess just.
But
Mr.
good for you.
Zanuck, Mayor, sounds like folks are going to be in town and around the next 48 hours.
We probably want to do this tomorrow, not Thursday.
But
Yeah, I'm not here Thursday or
You
Friday.
don't have time to notice it for tomorrow, 10 o'clock at night.
Would have to be Thursday. It's got to be 24
Got to
hours.
have 24-hour notice.
So,
It's got to be Thursday.
We need 5, right?
Shannon says it's 12 hours.
Because it's going to be an emergency. We need 5.
Yeah, we'll need 5.
We need 5.
well,
I
and
mean, we
again,
could send them legislation that doesn't go effective
this may be
30
sufficient.
days.
We'll find out in the morning.
If need be, but
You need 5.
ideally, yeah, we want to be able to do an emergency.
Right.
Yeah.
I just wanted to put that out there.
Whatever you need, just
That's all I have as far as unfinished business, new business, miscellaneous. Mr. Deeds, anything this evening you'd like to add?
Yeah, just one thing, I'm sure everyone knows today that Bob Thews was not in the back room, sitting in the back of the room. I did have a short conversation with him at the end of last week. He's doing fine, and we're going to have some other conversations about a few other things, but just to let you know, Mr. Thews, we're thinking about you, and we missed you, and that's it. He's doing okay.
Thank you, Mr. Deeds. Mrs. Walker?
I
anything
have
additional?
nothing, thank you.
Mr. Post?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Fury?
I'll be as brief as I can. I would have done this last meeting, but I had to leave for a family emergency. You know, we had a resident that's 91 years old that passed away this month. His name was Jim Watkins, and he lived on Cynthia Lane in Ward 5, Mr. Bellin's district. And he and I became really good friends over the last 30 years. He was a Marine, and once a Marine, always Marine. But Mr. Watkins served in Korea in the winter in Chosin Reservoir, which was, people froze to death there. He was awarded a Bronze Star and a Purple Heart. That means he was heroic enough to get out and get shot, and helping fellow soldiers, was awarded Purple Heart, returned to duty, and was again wounded for a second Purple Heart and received a Silver Star. Bronze Stars and Silver Stars do not get awarded in combat without absolute heroic measures. He was a true American hero, and he was a good friend of mine. And I just want to, he was buried in his dress blues with a military funeral. And I just think we need to say thank you to like Mike DeSillo is also a Korean veteran, you know, and my uncles were in World War II, and those guys are going apart. But, you know, today when you get shot, there's a helicopter that gets you out of there fast. You know, kids get fixed pretty quick, and that, you know, in 1952, I don't think we had that kind of, you know, if you got shot, bad things happen. So he was a true American hero and my friend, and I'll miss him. Thank you. If you want to challenge your appraisals, the phone number is 330-643-2710. You got 5 days. The library, Laura Leonard was here. All the wonderful things we do with this library. 2 fundraisers they have. Friends of the Library. It's $10 a year. Please join. But their big one is a reverse raffle that is the foundation experience. It's $2,500 in cash, or they'll send you to Monterey to golf, Canada to a culinary expedition. There's only 100 tickets sold. The tickets are available at www.foundationoftpl.org. The date for the drawing is November 16th at 7 p.m. You do not need to be present. Please consider supporting our library. And lastly, the Historical Society has been doing this event for at least 30 years, and it's called Tales of Locust Grove. Locust Grove is the cemetery that is behind Giant Eagle. You see the crypt right in the driveway as you're going, over by the new urgent care where University Hospital is. This event's only held 2 days. It's got costume people. They take you through the cemetery. It's very historic. It's very entertaining. It's very educational about the history of Twinsburg. Tickets are $5 for adults. Kids 12 and under are $1. They're sold at the barn. The barn is right next to Starbucks, the Red Barn, and it is held between 6 and 8 p.m. It's a really neat thing. I'm going to do it again. Please consider supporting the Twinsburg Historical Society. That's all I have this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Fury. Mrs. Labby.
I want to thank Matt and his Tammy and Christina and their team for the fine negotiations they did. It wasn't an easy job, but they did exceptional. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Labby. Mr. Bellin?
Yeah, I just have one thing. I have to give a shout out to a Twinsburg company called Transition Simplified. They are a change management firm. They assist with downsizing, moving, cleanup, and auctioning and more. They recently helped my mother move, and I could not have been happier with their work, their attention to detail, and their professionalism. They're located right here in Twinsburg on East Enterprise Parkway, and you can find them on Facebook by looking up Transition Simplified. Nothing further this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bellin. Mr. Scafidi, anything this evening?
Thank you. I have nothing further. Thank you.
Mr. Vazana, anything?
No, sir.
All right. Mrs. Conway?
Not tonight, thank you.
Collins? All right, we have no absent members. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 9:47 p.m. May I have a second?
A second.
Mr. Fury seconds. Any discussion? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Deeds?
Yes.
Mr. Post?
Yes.
Mr. Bellin?
Yes.
Mrs. Labby?
Yep. Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Thank you, everyone. We're adjourned.